So I got a couple funny things to laugh at here over on twitter.com. Number one, Dan Crenshaw. Now, this tweet to me is incredible. So we have Dan Crenshaw sharing a tweet over here from Mia Shea. 5 men tried to rob a young woman this morning. They didn't expect her to grab her handgun and fire today. She is unharmed, and at least one suspect is shot. So this is like one of these odd stories that these types kind of pick and choose from the like never-ending fucking hell nightmare of American life, of just people constantly getting fucking blown away. And Dan Crenshaw really needs to focus on this. IzzyBear713. I'll reach out. I'll reach out to IzzyBear713. So Dan Crenshaw, this is just a phenomenal tweet. I couldn't believe this when I saw this today. Dan Crenshaw says, situations like this story are why we protect the Second Amendment. Side note, with universal background checks, I wouldn't be able to let my friends borrow my handgun when they travel alone like this. We would make felons out of people just for defending themselves. Okay, I think part of this is that, you know, I live in Canada. I've never really been around, people have guns in this country, but it's just like, I've never been around this like gun culture. So part of that is just as like an outsider looking in, it just seems so fucking weird and bizarre to me. What people's values are. And like, so this is all a response to like just dozens of people getting shot in Texas over the last month in these mass shooting events. And Dan Crenshaw from Texas. And now, of course, because there's these mass shootings, people are starting to talk about, just as they do every time, and these talks always go nowhere, but the same conversations happen where, hey, maybe we need to maybe tighten up those background checks a little bit. Maybe we should do something or anything at all to try and avoid having these constant mass shootings happen. And then Dan Crenshaw leans on stories like this as a way to say like, oh, you're just trying to take away young women's ability to defend themselves from being robbed by some like desperate person on the street. But Dan's like fixation here, I wouldn't be able to let my friends borrow my handgun when they travel alone like this. Like, what the fuck? This guy's a congressman. Like, who's he lending his handgun to? And he's like, he says, with universal background checks, I wouldn't be able to let my friends borrow my handgun when they travel alone like this. Like, so they wouldn't pass a background check, I guess? Why are you admitting this, Dan? What is going on here? Why are you talking about this? Why are you just like lending your gun to people? Who are these people you're just like, oh, you're going out tonight alone? Here, just take a gun. What the hell? It's so bizarre to me that like this is a conversation that people are having. Again, this is a response to like dozens of people being murdered in mass shooting events in your home state. And you're like, I wouldn't even be able to let my friends borrow my handgun. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just chugging elegantly from my giant bottle of fizzy water there. That was probably great to look at and listen to. But I was really laughing at this today. I wouldn't be able to let my friends borrow my handgun when they travel alone like this. And so this is a response to like, you know, people starting to talk about the basic idea of having some elements of gun control. And of course, the big news that came through recently, I think it was yesterday, Wal Mart announced we're going to no longer sell assault rifles and like, war weapons in our stores. and we're not going to sell ammunition that goes with these weapons. We'll sell hunting stuff. Oh, and also we might please like encourage our fucking customers to not wander around the store open carrying AR-15s. And one of again, I'm talking about mass shootings in Texas. This is like one of these shootings occurred in a Walmart. And people were open carrying in that Walmart and somehow didn't manage to stop this like horrific mass shooting that took place. That was incited by the President of the United States and committed by one of the President's supporters also. That's another important element to that story that kind of was forgotten. So in response to like these multiple mass shootings, Walmart has the audacity to say, maybe we should, cut back on selling these weapons that are being used to routinely massacre dozens of people. And maybe encourage people from carrying around these assault weapons in the store. That to me is still just the fact that was going on. I find is incredibly fucked up. But the idea that this is this extreme measure that the famously leftist Wal Mart corporation just bowing to the pressure of the SJWs yet again. And asking their customers politely to not carry assault weapons in their stores. I just can't believe it. And they're talking about they're shooting themselves in the foot. I think Tommy Lahren said that. They're gonna just lose money to other gun retailers and ammunitions retailers. They're gonna lose money. Walmart is no longer gonna be profitable because they're not selling these weapons. And it never really occurs to these fucking psychos that maybe it's actually better for Walmart's bottom line to create an environment where customers aren't wandering around thinking am I going to be fucking shot in the face while I'm out purchasing groceries today? Maybe that's going to create a little bit more of an environment where customers feel just more normal going to the store. Maybe it's going to do something to make people slightly less paranoid that they're going to be fucking murdered as they're just going about their business, which has just become a normal part of America. I understand. Maybe it's better for Walmart's bottom line if they contribute to that environment instead of contributing to the opposite environment of fucking everyone wandering around carrying military grade assault weapons, like the assault rifle 15. It never really occurs to these people. It never really occurs that maybe that's an option. Maybe this is a market-based solution. Maybe it's a market-based solution to not have your customers be worried about losing their lives in a fucking gunfight every time they go out to buy milk. Maybe that's going to be better for Walmart's bottom line. That did not stop Ben Shapiro from weighing in on this. So here's the story from the Daily Wire. Walmart caves to far left. Stop selling ammo and guns. And Ben Shapiro says the left has found a new way of implementing policy from the top down without the use of government. Simply pressure massive corporations to do their political bidding. And again, this is just to refresh. This is a massive corporation, one of the biggest corporations in the world, saying hey, there's dozens of mass shooting events in this country all the time. It feels like people are just popping popcorn kernels at any moment and just going out and buying dangerous murder weapons and just going out and killing people. Maybe we can do something to put a dent in that. It's better than doing nothing. Maybe we can do something that's going to have some kind of impact to preventing this stuff from going on. And people like Ben Shapiro says, you're just doing the left's political bidding. And he goes on. This is dangerous precedent and adds to the continuing polarization of the country. Are we now going to have politically segregated big box stores? So not wanting to people get murdered in your establishment is politically, that's a partisan issue now. That's a partisan issue. Not wanting people to be gunned down in the place where you're trying to sell fucking Chinese plastic stuff. That is a partisan issue that we have to fight over now. Wal Mart bowing down to the SJWs and refusing to sell assault rifle 15s at their establishment. Unbelievable. Well, okay, so there's a number of reasons why this is dumb and funny to think about and talk about. I'm going to just chug from my bottle of soda water here. 1 second. I feel like I probably should have got a glass. So, yeah, there's a number of reasons why this is funny to me. Number one is that conservatives fucking boycott everything. This is like their first line of defense anytime a company does anything remotely political or takes, not political, sorry, but takes a political stand that they don't like. Like the NFL is a great example, right? The NFL does political stuff all the time. It has like troops come out during the Super Bowl. You have fucking like F-35s or whatever flying over football stadiums, basically devoting like the first half hour of many football games, which are this big kind of cultural, almost religious tradition in the United States, and devoting that to like boosting the military and possibly recruiting for the military. That's political. And conservatives don't seem to mind when the NFL does stuff like that. It doesn't really bother them. But when NFL players disrespect the flag by kneeling during the national anthem, which is for who knows why it's played in front of sports games in the first place, but when they kneel during that song, it just drives them crazy. And then they want to boycott that. They want to boycott any company that's taking any kind of a stance. And again, that's not even the NFL taking a stance. They've like specifically blacklisted the guy that's taking that stance. But just the fact that they allowed anything like that to happen on one of their broadcasts has just convinced many people that they're this like SJW, fucking feminist, anti-imperialist, subversive organization. And so we had people and conservatives boycotting the NFL over that. You had people like boycotting Nike and like burning their fucking Nike clothes when they started working with Colin Kaepernick, or when they take any kind of political stance. This is like the conservative go-to response to any corporation taking any kind of a political stance they don't like. They're smashing their Keurig machines. They're like, if they see an ad of like a razor company that has like a same-sex couple in their advertisement, they're boycotting those. They fucking boycott everything. But when Walmart says, "Hey, we don't want to sell assault weapons in our stores anymore, and maybe we're gonna try and help people, try and do something to help the climate of polarization that Ben is talking about, where Americans are just routinely just getting gunned down in public places. Maybe we're gonna do something about that." Well, they don't. That they think is ridiculous. Not that they think is that's just an exclusive tactic of the far left. The far left are the ones like, the corporations like Walmart are bowing to their demands by taking a political stance by not selling these like assault weapons. Oh, sorry, was the swallowing gross? I'm so sorry. Gorsola, I apologize. I will get better at the whole streaming thing. I'm not going to be guzzling big gulps of soda water on the stream anymore. And in fact, there's a couple of examples right here that I posted right below Ben Shapiro's tweet here. This is a retweet of Cody Johnson showing Ben Shapiro himself participating in boycotts for various things. Ben Shapiro's website protests Mozilla after co-founder's resignation over Prop 8. So, co-founder of Mozilla was unhappy with the anti-marriage equality proposition and resigned. So Ben Shapiro and his website were all over that when it happened. And this is a funny story. Almost 20 years ago, Al Sharpton referred to Caucasians as crackers while speaking at Kean College. No lies detected there. So, of course, nearly 2 decades later, conservative activists have called for a boycott of Ritz Crackers, which advertises on Sharpton's MSNBC show. Sharpton doesn't dislike all crackers. Boycott leader and Breitbart news editor Ben Shapiro writes on the Truth Revolt website. This is the first target of a series of boycotts Shapiro plans to lead against advertisers who give their ad dollars to liberal shows. Ritz was targeted not just due to the wordplay, but reportedly because it was one of the few advertisers to respond to Truth Revolt's call for comment. So it's funny to me that anyone takes anything Ben Shapiro says seriously. That's amusing to me because like there's so many, for every take that he has out there, there's an example of this. But what really this does bother me. This type of shit. This is dangerous precedent and adds to the continuing polarization of the country. You know who has added a whole bunch to the continuing polarization of the United States? It's this guy named Ben Shapiro, who built his entire career on, calling Obama this like middling centrist neoliberal guy who was just constantly bending over backwards to make Republicans and conservatives happy. Ben Shapiro built his whole political career like calling him like a communist subversive, secret Muslim terrorist, a trans person, dog eating, cop hating, revolutionary. That's what Ben Shapiro spent the years of 2008 to 2016 doing, which was, it's just completely preposterous. First of all, as we know, we saw what Obama's administration was all about. And so anyone that was legitimately calling him this communist subversive should just be completely discredited by now, because obviously that was a preposterous thing to believe and to say. But just taking all that and all the other just vile, horrific shit that Ben Shapiro has written over the years about people of color and trans people and liberals and everything that he's kind of all these big culture wars that he's built a career off of talking about, that has added to the continuing polarization of the country. The idea that Ben Shapiro is somehow above this, he's above all this stuff. He's not part. He's looking at America becoming more and more polarized and saying, that's awful. We should. That's just a terrible thing. I can't believe all these people are being so unreasonable. And so he does this obviously bullshit act of being this reasonable person, and somehow people believe it. And liberals believe it, and he gets put in the pages of the New York Times and gets talked about as he gets referred to as the cool kids philosopher in the New York Times. That is unbelievable to me. That he's able to say stuff like this and just not immediately just be laughed out of every fucking cocktail party and whatever other event that he's at where he's mixing with these polite liberals. It's absolutely ridiculous that he's able to go around saying this kind of stuff and positioning himself like he's somehow better than the Trump people, and he's better than the MAGA people and the alt-right, which he specifically helped to kind of cultivate and only distance himself from when he realized that they also despised him as well, finally. The idea that Ben Shapiro is able to kind of separate himself from that and talk about polarization in America like it's this thing that he's somehow not played a huge role in creating, that to me is pretty preposterous. And here, a little cameo from a friend of the show, Hillary Agro, who you should follow on twitter.com. She's a very good follow. Like Hillary a lot. She's a pal. I was actually talking with her soon about coming onto this program. So hopefully we'll get Hillary to come on and weigh in on some of this stuff too sometimes. But this is one reason that I really dislike Ben Shapiro, and it's one reason that I enjoy going after him. I mean, do you know what I think contributes to continuing polarization? Inciting mass shootings in mosques, as Ben Shapiro has done, that's not like an opinion. That's like something that has happened in Quebec, where I live. So to me, I think inciting mass shootings is adding to the continuing polarization of the United States and continuing political polarization everywhere in the US, in Canada, and Quebec, and all over the place. To me, that's doing more to contribute to polarization than a big box store, massive corporation saying like, hey, maybe we're not going to sell assault weapons anymore. Who knows, right? It's kind of equal. Fucking ridiculous.